The video captures a dangerous lifting operation where a crew was using a mobile crane to hoist and transfer several heavy concrete columns onto a flatbed transport truck. Alarmingly, due to the overall weight or the uneven distribution of the concrete load, combined with insufficient stability from the crane, likely from improperly deployed outriggers, the entire crane rig severely lost balance and violently overturned. Fortunately, personnel nearby reacted swiftly and managed to escape the collapse zone of the crane and the massive falling material. All multiple lift operations must undergo detailed load weight calculation and comprehensive pre-lift planning. It is absolutely forbidden to operate a crane without fully and securely deploying all outriggers on stable ground. Operators and supervisors must strictly adhere to the load chart and ensure a wide exclusion zone is maintained to protect personnel from equipment failure and overturning incidents. The video captures a highly relevant safety incident where an individual was walking along a public path without noticing a section of the sidewalk or curb that was actively under repair and freshly paved with concrete. The pedestrian stepped directly into the wet concrete, immediately realizing the mistake. In an attempt to quickly escape, the person hastily leaped out but then ran forward without looking down, causing them to step into the wet concrete a second time, resulting in a fall. Pedestrians must maintain full focus on their path of travel and actively observe all signage, barriers, and caution tape indicating construction or maintenance zones. Never rush or panic when encountering an unexpected hazard. Instead, stop, assess the situation, and carefully back away or move around the restricted area. Disregarding construction warnings or walking while distracted poses a significant risk of trips, falls, and damage to property. The video captures an extremely high-risk incident where a motor vehicle became immobilized or stuck directly on a set of active railroad tracks at a level crossing. As the vehicle remained trapped, a high-speed train rapidly approached the crossing. Although the train engineer applied the emergency brakes, the momentum of the train was too great to stop in time, resulting in a severe impact with the stalled vehicle. Drivers must never proceed across railroad tracks unless they are certain they have enough space on the other side to fully clear the crossing. If a vehicle stalls on the tracks, all occupants must immediately evacuate and run away from the tracks and away from the direction the train is coming from, as equipment can be thrown outwards upon impact. No attempt to save the vehicle is worth the risk of remaining on or near the track. The video documents a safety incident within a busy warehouse or industrial facility where goods were being transported by forklifts. The footage shows a worker walking in the area who was not adequately observant of the vehicle traffic around them. Concurrently, a forklift operator, likely due to a lapse in concentration while driving in a high traffic zone, collided with the walking worker, causing the pedestrian to be forcibly struck and visibly injured. Both pedestrians and equipment operators share responsibility for preventing accidents in industrial settings. Forklift drivers must maintain an absolute 360-degree awareness and reduce speed significantly when operating in areas with high foot traffic. Pedestrians must avoid distractions and make eye contact with drivers before entering a traffic path. Clearly marked pedestrian walkways and enforced safety protocols are essential to minimize collisions between mobile equipment and personnel. The video documents a serious safety incident within an industrial or manufacturing plant where workers were engaged in their tasks. Suddenly and without warning, a lid or cap from a container, likely due to a buildup of pressure or a mechanical failure, violently blew off the vessel. The detached component flew out with significant force and impacted a worker who was positioned in the immediate vicinity. Strict adherence to maintenance and pressure testing protocols for all sealed containers and pressurized systems is mandatory. Safety mechanisms, like pressure release valves, must be regularly inspected to prevent sudden containment failure. Workers must never stand in the potential line of fire of equipment where energy or pressure could be suddenly released. Maintaining safe distances and wearing appropriate personal protective equipment, PPE, is essential for managing hazards from sudden equipment failure. The video captures a severe industrial incident where a worker was operating or attending to an industrial dough mixer or a powder material blending machine. While the machine was active, the worker attempted to manually adjust or tamper with the mixing mechanism using their hand, likely to clear material or make an adjustment. Alarmingly, the powerful rotating blades or gears immediately caught the worker's hand, resulting in the individual being forcibly pulled and entangled into the moving components of the machine. It is strictly forbidden to place hands or any body part into a mixer, blender, or any machine with moving parts while the equipment is powered on. Mandatory safety protocols require the rigorous use of lockout, tagout, LOTO procedures to fully de-energize and secure the machinery before any cleaning, clearing, or intervention is attempted. Never bypass machine guards. They are the critical defense against severe entanglement and crushing injuries. The video footage captures a serious incident in a loading or workyard involving a group of workers engaged in material handling. The sequence shows a worker standing on the ground who was not adequately observant of the area behind them. Simultaneously, a large truck was reversing into the same area. The driver of the truck likely had a compromised line of sight, a blind spot, and failed to see the pedestrian, resulting in the worker being compressed between the rear of the truck and a stationary wall. All reversing heavy vehicle operations must utilize a trained spotter or flagger to guide the driver and ensure the area is clear of personnel. Personnel working near moving vehicles must maintain absolute situational awareness and never stand with their back turned to traffic. Establishing clear exclusion zones around reversing equipment is mandatory to prevent severe crush injuries from blind spot hazards. The video documents a severe workplace incident where two workers were utilizing a crane or hoist to lift a heavy material or component to an elevated position. As the load was suspended in the air, one of the workers advanced too close to the lifting operation and positioned himself directly beneath the suspended object. Suddenly, the lifting sling or rigging cable catastrophically failed, snapped, causing the heavy freight to plummet violently, striking the worker who was standing directly in the fall zone. It is an absolute, non-negotiable safety violation to ever stand or walk directly beneath any suspended load. All rigging equipment, slings, shackles, hooks, must be thoroughly inspected before every use for signs of wear or damage. Trained signal persons and rigorous exclusion zones must be enforced during all hoisting operations to ensure no personnel are within the danger radius of the suspended load. The video documents an extremely serious and highly hazardous incident at an industrial site involving a large rock or material grinder, crusher. The footage shows a worker operating precariously close to the uncovered hopper or feed mechanism of the powerful machine. Due to what appears to be a slip, loss of balance, or proximity to the edge, the individual fell into the material processing mechanism. It is strictly mandatory to install and maintain robust perimeter guarding, guardrails, and restricted access zones around the open hoppers of crushers, grinders, and powerful material processing equipment. Workers must never work near or over the feed opening. Rigorous training on fall protection and access control is essential to prevent personnel from entering the severe hazard zone of operating machinery. The video footage documents a serious electrical safety incident in an industrial workshop or facility. The scene shows a worker moving toward a power distribution area or electrical wiring. As the individual attempted to handle or disconnect a live wire, cable, they were suddenly and powerfully impacted by an electrical current that traveled through their body. This resulted in the worker falling immediately to the ground. Fortunately, a colleague quickly noticed the situation and rushed to disconnect the power source, pulling the cable, to break the electrical contact. It is strictly forbidden to attempt to handle, repair, or disconnect electrical wiring without first de-energizing the circuit, and verifying power is off using lockout, tagout, LOTO procedures. Only qualified and authorized personnel wearing appropriate personal protective equipment, PPE, such as insulated gloves, should ever interact with live electrical parts. Never touch a person who is experiencing electrical shock. Instead, immediately shut off the power source or use a non-conductive object to move the source away from the individual. The video captures a critical traffic safety incident involving a person using roller skates or similar wheeled equipment in a roadway environment. As the individual was moving around a blind curve or corner, they failed to anticipate or observe oncoming traffic. Suddenly, a motor vehicle appeared, and due to the limited visibility and speed, the vehicle collided with the person on skates, causing the individual to be violently thrown from the impact. Individuals using roller skates, skateboards, or bicycles on public roads must exercise extreme caution, especially when approaching blind corners or crests. Users must slow down, announce their presence if possible, and be prepared to stop instantly. Drivers must also reduce speed and be vigilant for non-vehicular traffic in areas with limited visibility. Using safety gear, avoiding high-speed skating on unknown roads, and maintaining constant awareness are essential to prevent severe impacts and accidents. The video documents an extremely serious industrial incident occurring on top of a large industrial tanker or storage vessel, likely containing volatile material or compressed gas. The footage shows a worker positioned near the top, opening or dome of the tanker. Suddenly, there is a violent release of energy, a blast or high-pressure event from the vessel opening. This force forcibly impacted and propelled the worker high into the air and away from the tank. Strict adherence to all lockout, tagout, takeout, and confined space entry procedures is mandatory before working on or near storage tankers. All vessels must be verified as completely purged and de-energized, zero energy state, to prevent unexpected pressure buildup, ignition, or release of hazardous materials. Workers must wear appropriate personal protective equipment, PPE, for high-risk environments and follow protocols that prohibit placing personnel in the direct path of potential high-energy releases. The video documents a severe and costly incident involving a massive mobile crane, identified as a Liebherr LHM 320, specifically during its transport or assembly operation. The footage shows that the crane's enormous boom structure violently collapsed and buckled, falling to the ground with immense force. This catastrophic structural failure demonstrates the extreme dangers associated with the handling and movement of super-heavy equipment. Pre-transport and pre-assembly inspections must be meticulous and strictly adhere to manufacturer specifications to verify the integrity of all structural components and supports. Rigorous training is required for all personnel involved in the rigging, breakdown, and transport of massive equipment to prevent catastrophic structural collapse. A vast exclusion zone is mandatory to protect personnel from the unpredictable path of falling debris during such large-scale failures. The video documents a severe construction site incident involving a massive crane attempting to lift a concrete bridge segment or heavy structural component for placement. Due to the immense weight of the load, exceeding the crane's operational limits or stability capacity, the entire crane structure suddenly pitched forward and collapsed. The structural component was severely damaged in the process. Fortunately, the footage suggests that personnel in the area managed to avoid being struck by the falling structure and equipment. Crane operators and riggers must strictly adhere to the load chart and ensure that the setup is well within the crane's rated capacity for the radius and height of the lift. Thorough pre-lift checks are mandatory to verify ground conditions and proper outrigger deployment to prevent instability. Personnel must maintain a safe exclusion zone from all heavy lifting operations to avoid crush injuries from equipment failure or falling loads. The video captures a critical incident in an office or clinical setting where a large, floor-to-ceiling glass panel or door suddenly and violently failed. The footage shows a person opening the door from the outside to enter the facility when, suddenly, the massive glass structure detached from its frame and collapsed with great speed and force. A worker who was in the immediate vicinity was forcibly struck and impacted by the collapsing weight of the structure. Regular, professional inspection and preventative maintenance of all heavy glass doors, partitions, and structural panels are mandatory to ensure the integrity of hinges, tracks, and mounting hardware. Building owners and facility managers must address all signs of structural instability immediately to prevent catastrophic collapse. Personnel should maintain distance from areas where structural components show obvious signs of stress or damage to avoid crush and impact injuries. The video captures a sudden personal safety incident involving a person using a kitchen appliance, specifically a blender or drink mixer. The footage shows that as the individual momentarily turned their head or shifted focus, their long hair came into contact with the machine's moving or rotating parts. The hair was instantly pulled and entangled by the mechanism, causing the individual visible distress and a sharp, forceful contact with the appliance. Individuals with long hair must secure it, completely tied back or covered, before operating any kitchen appliance with rotating or moving components, such as blenders, mixers, or food processors. Maintain focus and distance from the immediate area of operation to prevent severe entanglement injuries, as these machines engage moving parts very quickly. The video documents a severe industrial incident where a worker was operating or tending to a machine with high-speed, powerful rollers, likely a conveyor or processing unit. The footage reveals that the worker came into contact with the machine's moving parts, specifically a set of rollers or a pinch point. As a result, the worker's clothing or a body part was instantly caught by the mechanism, and the individual was forcibly pulled into the operating rollers. It is strictly mandatory to ensure all nip points, pinch points, and rotating parts on industrial machinery are fully enclosed with rigid, non-removable machine guarding. Rigorous use of lockout, tug-out, LOTO procedures is required before any worker attempts maintenance, cleaning, or adjustment near moving rollers. Loose clothing is prohibited in all areas near rotary equipment due to the extreme risk of severe entanglement injuries. The video captures a sudden and highly dangerous incident on a fishing vessel where crew members had successfully hoisted a large whale or similar massive marine animal onto the deck or gantry for processing. As the fishermen were preparing to work on the catch, the animal suddenly exerted a massive, powerful movement, a violent spasm or jerk. This unexpected force caused the enormous, suspended weight to violently shift or fall back onto the deck, striking and severely knocking down the crew members who were positioned nearby. Handling extraordinarily large marine catches demands rigorous control of the load at all times. All personnel must stand clear of the immediate vicinity of a hoisted animal until it is completely stabilized and confirmed to be fully secured or unresponsive. Fishermen must anticipate violent, powerful post-capture reactions and maintain safe standoff distances to prevent severe impact injuries from the massive, uncontrolled weight. The video documents a severe industrial incident in a manufacturing or processing facility where a worker was attending to a piece of machinery, possibly a feed roller or press unit. The footage reveals that the worker placed or had their hand too close to the machine's in-feed area or moving components. As a result, the worker's hand was instantly caught by the mechanism and forcefully pulled into the operating machine. The core safety lesson here is critical. It is strictly mandatory to ensure all in-running nip points, feed rollers, and pinch points are fully protected by robust, non-removable machine guarding. Rigorous use of lockout, tag-out, LOTO procedures is required before any worker attempts manual intervention, cleaning, or clearing near moving parts. Bypassing safety features or reaching into operational machinery creates an extreme risk of severe entanglement and crush injuries. The video documents a severe industrial incident in a factory setting where a container, pipeline, or system holding hot liquid failed or was compromised. The footage shows a sudden and uncontrolled release of the highly heated substance into the immediate work area. 2 workers were in the vicinity and were impacted by the hot liquid, causing them to be forcibly struck and visibly affected by the thermal exposure. It is mandatory to establish and enforce rigorous protocols for handling, storing, and transporting all high-temperature liquids. Workers in these areas must wear appropriate personal protective equipment, PPE, including thermal-resistant clothing and full face shields, to guard against splash and thermal contact. Regular maintenance and pressure testing of containment vessels and piping are essential to prevent catastrophic leaks or ruptures. The video footage documents a severe public safety incident involving a large, heavy truck that was not properly secured. The scene clearly shows the unattended truck beginning to roll uncontrolled down an incline right near a body of water, riverbank. The runaway vehicle accelerated rapidly and eventually slammed directly into a smaller, parked passenger car, causing significant damage to the vehicle and infrastructure. Drivers must strictly adhere to the mandatory safety protocol of properly securing all heavy vehicles whenever they are parked, even for short periods. Rigorous use of both the parking brake and wheel chocks is essential, especially on any slope or near potential hazards like a riverbank. Failing to secure a heavy vehicle creates an extreme and unpredictable danger to property and public safety. The video documents a severe and immediate safety violation in a warehouse or industrial setting involving the use of a forklift. The footage shows a worker standing directly beneath a heavy load that was improperly elevated on the forklift's tines. This dangerous position places the worker squarely in the fall zone, which carries an extreme and immediate crush hazard. Suddenly, the heavy freight or container catastrophically slipped or fell off the forklift's tines, dropping with immense force and crushing the worker who was standing in the immediate vicinity. It is an absolute, non-negotiable safety violation to ever walk or stand directly beneath a raised or suspended load. Loads must always be centered, stable, and carried low to the ground when traveling. Forklift operators must ensure the travel path is completely clear of all pedestrians. Rigorous enforcement of exclusion zones and pedestrian separation is mandatory to prevent severe crush injuries from falling material and equipment failure. The video documents a severe construction site incident involving an excavation project where a crew was working near a trench or pit, using an excavator or digging equipment. The footage captures the moment the machine was actively digging. Suddenly and without warning, the adjacent trench wall or earthen embankment experienced a catastrophic, rapid collapse. The falling debris, soil, and material overwhelmed the area, leaving workers no time to move to safety and resulting in severe impact and crush injuries from the collapsing force. It is mandatory to properly shore, shield, or slope all trench and excavation walls greater than 5 feet in depth to prevent cave-ins. Supervisors must regularly inspect soil conditions and wall stability, especially when heavy equipment is operating nearby. Workers must be kept out of the immediate danger zone when the excavator is digging and must never enter an unshored trench or pit, as collapses are instantaneous and lethal. The video captures a sudden and highly dangerous incident in a warehouse or storage facility, specifically involving an area containing tall, stacked bags of material, likely fertilizer or bulk goods. The footage shows a worker, a woman, moving within the narrow aisle while cleaning or organizing. Suddenly, the adjacent stacks of material lose stability and experience a massive, rapid collapse. The falling rows of heavy bags impacted the worker with force, trapping her beneath the substantial weight of the fallen material. All stored materials, especially bags, must be stacked safely and properly, adhering to height restrictions and utilizing pyramid or interlocked stacking methods to ensure stability. It is mandatory to inspect stacks regularly for leaning or instability and correct them immediately. Workers must be kept clear of any aisle exhibiting unstable stacks to prevent severe crush injuries from falling material. The video documents a severe workplace incident in a manufacturing facility involving the handling of large, heavy steel coils or rolled material. The footage shows a worker standing near a stationary coil. Simultaneously, a forklift was transporting another massive coil, but the operator lost control and inadvertently dropped the heavy load from the lift tines. The unsecured coil instantly began to roll rapidly across the floor toward the unsuspecting worker and collided with the individual, causing a forceful impact. This incident underscores the absolute necessity for all rolled materials to be secured with proper attachments and carried at a low height and controlled speed during transport to prevent them from becoming dangerous rolling hazards. Furthermore, Strict safety protocols must always enforce an exclusion zone around all heavy material movement to protect personnel from sudden impacts caused by dropped and rolling loads. The video documents a severe safety violation, an incident involving a forklift being used improperly to elevate a worker in a warehouse or industrial setting. The footage captures the moment a worker was positioned at a significant height while standing directly on the vehicle's forks. Suddenly, the forklift, which was not fully secured or immobilized, began to move unexpectedly. This motion immediately caused the worker to lose their balance and fall dramatically from the dangerous elevated position to the ground below. This incident clearly demonstrates the absolute prohibition on using a forklift's forks as an unauthorized personnel platform, highlighting the extreme risk of severe fall injuries due to the inherent instability and the critical lack of fall protection in such unsafe working methods. The video captures a safety incident during a loading or unloading operation involving a truck and a forklift. The footage shows a worker positioned on the bed or cargo area of the delivery truck as materials are being handled. Suddenly, the worker lost their footing or balance while moving near the edge or maneuvering around the forklift, causing them to fall unexpectedly from the height of the truck bed to the ground below. This serious incident clearly highlights the necessity for workers to avoid standing on the truck bed during active loading and unloading unless stringent fall protection measures, such as harnesses or guardrails, are rigorously enforced. Furthermore, only secure access platforms should be utilized for ingress and egress, and personnel must always maintain 3 points of contact when climbing onto or off the trailer to prevent severe injuries from a fall from height. The video captures a critical safety incident involving a forklift carrying a heavy load that was improperly secured and positioned. The footage demonstrates that the load's excessive forward weight or poor positioning caused the vehicle's center of gravity to shift dangerously forward during movement. While the operator was attempting to maneuver, the severe forward imbalance caused the rear wheels of the forklift to lift off the ground, leading to a sudden and dangerous loss of stability that nearly resulted in a violent tip-over. This incident stresses the absolute necessity for operators to verify load stability and ensure the weight does not exceed the vehicle's rated capacity or load center limits before moving, as exceeding these limits creates an immediate and severe hazard of vehicle instability. The video captures a safety incident during an unloading operation from a truck, where a group of workers were attempting to manually pull a heavy cargo container or freight item out of the truck bed. The footage shows the immense force required to move the heavy load, causing 2 workers on the ground to lose their footing and stumble. Simultaneously, the forceful resistance caused the truck's tailgate, bungzi, to jerk violently, nearly causing the worker standing on the tailgate to lose balance and fall from the height. This chaotic movement also destabilized nearby stacked cargo, which came dangerously close to toppling over. This incident emphasizes the critical need to strictly prohibit manual brute force methods for unloading heavy cargo and mandate the use of appropriate mechanical assistance, such as forklifts or pallet jacks, to prevent severe fall injuries, loss of stability, and crush hazards from shifting loads. The video captures a severe workplace incident where 2 workers were positioned in the immediate vicinity of a forklift's forks, preparing for an unloading operation at a truck bed. The footage shows the forklift operator attempting to approach the truck when they suddenly lost control of the vehicle's movement. Instead of braking or maneuvering slowly, the operator inadvertently applied rapid acceleration, stepped on the gas. The forklift surged forward quickly and violently, pinning or severely impacting the worker who was positioned in the operator's compartment against the rear of the truck bed. This incident highlights the absolute necessity for operators to maintain strict foot control, practice safe stopping distances, and ensure all ground personnel maintain a mandatory exclusion zone from both the moving vehicle and pinch points between the forklift and stationary objects like truck beds.